Hi everyone, it's Renee with Delaney Jane Cards. Welcome back to my channel. Today is September 11th, 2021, and it is the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks on the United States. And today I'm collaborating with my friend Kiona over at Kiona the Craft Therapist. If you haven't checked out her channel, I really suggest that you do. She's very, very interesting. She does lots of things with Cricut, and she uses things like vinyl in card making and acetate in cool and fun ways. She's pretty fantastic. So we're making first responder themed cards, and I'm going to make a card using Spellbinder's Make a Scene card base. I'm showing you all the pieces. I'd originally cut the front panel and I had cut the window out of it, and I got a Cricut, so then I was like, well, I'm just gonna cut a regular panel and then I'll cut it out later, which was smart. I'm glad I did it that way. So for each of the slider sides here, I have two of them. One's going to be red and one is going to be blue, and I am using the Spellbinders die, the Make a Scene card base die set, but I'm not putting in the little slots. They have some little scene dies that you can purchase to go with this set, and I do not own that, and I thought this die would be useful without, and it works. So if you are looking at this, I know it was in the clearance section or on sale or whatever. When I picked it up, it wouldn't have been full price. I'm telling you, it wouldn't have been full price. Anyway, I'll take a look, see if I can find it. If you're looking at making a I guess movable card, mechanical card, some kind of card with movement or whatever, this is pretty cool. So here I'm going to foil each of those panels. I didn't show all the ink blending, but I just basically blended two different color reds and two different color blues and created a background. I had taped off the small end tab. I didn't really need to do that. I thought maybe my adhesive wouldn't stick, but it was fine. This is actually a cutting die. That's not a hot foil die, and you can see that you can foil with them. It's this super cool star die. I think it's from MFT or nope, Simon Says Stamp. I just foiled with some hot foil using my Go Press and Foil machine, and that was the two side panels. So one was done with the it's a stripes. What is it called? It's right here. Let's see. Oops. It is called, it just says plates. Foiled brush strokes. It's like these cool stripes, and if you have a hot foil machine, you can use them, and they're really, really neat. But I thought that those stripes were very cool on that red background, and then I blended this sky. I wanted kind of a sunset sky, so I used shaded lilac, abandoned coral, and wild honey to blend my sky. And I had cut with my scissors a piece of post-it tape there at the bottom just to make a horizon line. I did keep both parts. You can see the other part of that piece of post-it tape is over there under the Distress Oxide lids. And I'm just using this Simon Says Stamp stencil. I think it's Simon Says Stamp stencil. And I am stenciling on some clouds over top of my sky. One nice thing about oxides is they layer on each other. So you can do this. I'm using pretty much like the colors that are directly underneath, and then I'm just highlighting it a little bit or adding a little bit of a shadow with this lilac. And I think that it's a very stunning sky, and I want to make more skies like this. I think it would be super pretty for, a desert scene, and I think it would be really kind of neat. So I just was adding clouds. I like this stencil because it's like different shaped clouds. So here's the other piece of that tape, and I left a little tiny edge so you can kind of see that ink blending underneath, so I didn't get a gap. And here I'm going to go in right at the edge. So this would be as far off in the distance as you can get, and then I brought in Distress black soot from the bottom here, and I'm going to blend the ground espresso and the black soot together just to get my ground. And that's my whole background. I did blend off screen another panel that is not as defined. It's super, I mean, it's blended, but it's not as detailed. Then I cut out that center rectangle with that die. Now I'm using this little edge die here to cut out the 2 notches even on each side. And after that was done, I went on to my other parts and pieces. This is the tree line die. It's from a Gina Marie Designs die. I was showing them in the beginning. I had like a kind of an outdoor scene set of dies. It's got a mountain and like a hillscape. This is the mountain, and then the trees, and there's a little white cap. So what I'm doing is just adding a little bit of, I don't know, definition to the backgrounds here. And when I cut these dies, I cut them directly in the centerpiece of this, the colored cardstocks, because I wasn't sure how big of a piece I needed. I really only need that size, the size of the die, but I wasn't sure if I had wanted it to wrap around the inside of the pop-out box, but I didn't get around to figuring out how to do that. So that could happen in the future. Might make like a panorama die with this. And then I foiled, and I was foiled. I foiled the sentiment here underneath the window. First of all, it's crooked, and second of all, there was so much letterpress going on that it actually like overfoiled everywhere. But when I ran it through again, the same system that I used for the stripes and the stars, I still got some overfoiling, but it wasn't as bad. So first I tried a dry brush. That didn't come off. Then I die cut it with the little coordinating die, and now I'm using a sand eraser to just erase everything that isn't supposed to be foiled. And because it's letterpress, so that means it's pressed down into the paper, I can go directly over this, and it erases all of the foiling that shouldn't have been there. So it says sending you strength. Thought it was really pretty and added a little bit of extra shine to this card. I'm going to heat emboss this sentiment here. I used my anti-static powder, and I'm going to wipe off 99.9% of the powder. And yeah, that's a true statistic because it can get in the way of your embossing powder sticking to the paper. And then I used my Versamark ink and stamped and heat embossed in white that sentiment. Now I'm going to seal my panels. Normally I don't seal my panels of Distress Oxide. This is Distress, what is this called? Some kind of seal. Distress sealer? I don't know. But it makes everything slide a little bit easier. It kind of seals the paper and like puts a little bit of a film on it. So I thought because this is an interactive card that maybe it would help. And it also brightens the colors and adds so much more depth. So I just added a little bit of this, and a little bit goes a long way. And I am sorry, I thought I had it all cleaned up off the mat. I realized in editing that you can see all of that is still left on there. And I think it's on there the rest of the video. I did cut out the little word pull from each of the sides, and then I just inlaid the opposite letters. So in the red, there's blue letters, and I just used a piece of tape on the back and actually glued the piece of tape to the back so it's slippery because I use this repositionable tape in my craft room a lot. It's very thin. It doesn't leave a mark when you put it through your die cut machine, but I can also use it for things like this. So I am trying to place where I'm going to put these little cottlers. They're these little tiny strips of paper that have a fold on each end. I'll show them to you in a minute. And you adhere them down, and they kind of create a channel. See, I am taking the double-sided, or the back of the double-sided adhesive off each of the ends, and it actually kind of tucks under the tab and then folds over the tab and then tucks back under. So it makes a loop with the smooth edge of the loop facing the back of the card. So you see, I could have just tucked this under, but I was struggling to get it on camera and like get it lined up right. So here I just pulled it off. You can see that those two little tabs kind of tuck around the front of this. And I'm going to go ahead and just adhere this down. I'm not really worried about right or left. I'm worried about up and down right now currently, and trying to make sure that that word pull is in the little pull thumb hole that I created a little bit ago. And so once I have that one stuck down, I'm going to just double check that it's all working. I don't care about the fold right now. What I care about is that everything slides through there freely and it doesn't get stuck. It's not too tight. So I'm going to take my temporary tape off of there, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. I made sure I lined up the panels so that they are parallel. So when you one panel is not going to slide higher than the other, although it doesn't exactly matter too much because there isn't a pattern that lines up on the other side. If you were having stripes that went all the way across, that might be a bigger deal. So to inlay this panel, now on the back, I just opened up the little flap, taped down my red side, fit in my front panel, and now I'm going to fold this over with that double-sided adhesive in the middle. You'll see it a little bit better. In a minute, I'm going to do the other side as well. I wanted to make sure that you could see how this worked. So I made sure that this was lined up with the red one. And see, now I'm going to fold that over. Okay, now we have a little box. And because it is September 11th, I decided to honor what this day represents, and that is when we lost the people that were in the towers and in the Pentagon. But the stern symbol of that is the towers. So I thought I would add those here, and I just had used that little die and cut out the cityscape and just snipped off two of the matching buildings, and they're kind of tucked over here in the inside, and the mountains and the trees and the hills, it just kind of represents the land. And the sentiment atop says, "Thank you for your service and sacrifice for our nation." And I thought that that was fitting for today. Now I'm going to add these stacked die cut soldiers. This is another die from Gina Marie Dies, same place that I got the background, the landscape dies, same place. And here is another soldier, and I'm just adhering these onto the front frame so that they're silhouetted against that beautiful sky and next to what we will create in the center with the stars and the stripes on our pull tabs is a flag, if you notice. So this is the very inside of the card. That's where we stuck that rectangle, and I did go back and trim off the tabs that were over the rectangle, so or beyond the rectangle, and then I added adhesive just to those two tabs. And now I'm going to overlay that other blended panel I discussed earlier that's very similar to the back. Here I'm popping up the sentiment strip that we recreated with a little bit of foam tape, and this creates a box card. It can stand on its own. It is 5x7. It's a much bigger card than I traditionally make, but Kiona, she makes big cards. I've gotten several cards from her, and they're very large. It was very different for me to step outside my normal A2 size box, or even the slim line. That took me a long time to get on board with that. But it took a while for me to figure out what to do with so much space. Anyway, this is my card for today. Thank you if you have sacrificed yourself, your time, your body, anybody in your family for our nation. Thank you very much. And to everybody that checked out my video today, thank you. And check out Kiona's. That'll be linked below. And as I always say, give cards generously. Bye.